Welcome back to Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We're going to talk about the NBA right now as...
Actually,
yeah,
got a little trivia question for you.
Okay.
Going back to baseball.
Okay,
Who's going to be the highest paid player in baseball this year? Just their salary for this season.
Are you going to give me multiple choice or?
I'll give you some hints.
Okay.
After you make a guess.
Stanton?
No.
Okay.
He's an American League player.
Okay.
He's a position player.
Yeah, well, I figured that it would be a position player.
Right, yeah. Zach Greinke will be the second highest paid player. However, Greinke will be the highest again next year because his salary jumps where this guy's stays the same.
Yeah, that contract is ridiculous. It's like $210 million or something or
over
whatever
6 years. Yeah, this guy's going to make $34.083 million this year.
Really? And he's in the American League and he's not a pitcher.
Yep. He's really good.
I'm assuming he is. It would take too long for me to think of the name, even though it's probably stupid. I should probably know it.
AL West is his division.
The AL West?
Yep.
Robinson Cano?
It is not Robinson Cano. That was a good guess, though.
Okay. It wouldn't be Trout, right? No.
It is Trout.
It is Trout, really.
His contract was backloaded. For last year, he made $20 million, and it jumps to $34 this year.
Huh? It just seems like that he wouldn't be one of the highest paid players yet.
Well, it's because his contract was backloaded. When he signed the 6-year deal, he made $6 million the first year, $16 the second, $20 last year. Now he's making $34 the next 3 years.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to think outside the box there, but no, it's just the best player in baseball.
I wouldn't have guessed Trout because I knew his contract was only like 6 years, $145 million.
Yeah, that's why. I was thinking like he's been with the Angels his whole career, so I wouldn't have thought that would be the case. But I mean, he has been in baseball a pretty long time. His first year was 2010, right, or 2011?
He came. He was a September call up in 2011, and then he was called up in April of 2012.
Okay, yeah, because I went to a Sox Angels game in 2012 and he robbed Gordon Beckham of a home run in like the second or third inning. It was pretty exciting. Yeah, that's back when the White Sox were good.
They almost made the playoffs.
Yeah, they lost it in like the last week and a half.
Yeah, they were in first place for 117 days that year.
Yeah, and then the team that overtook them, the Tigers, ended up going all the way to the World Series that year, which is pretty crazy. And then got swept by the Giants, I think. They got swept.
They did.
Like the most boring World Series that I can remember.
The first game was good between Lincecum and... Oh, no, that's right. Pablo Sandoval hit 3 home runs in that first game off of Verlander.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, not good. But yeah, that's my first memory of Mike Trout anyway. I think that's the only time I've seen him play, probably. It's talking about basketball. The Bulls play the Warriors last night, and pretty competitive game. Chris Dunn had a pretty horrific injury, though, where he landed face first, the teeth first, really, onto the hardwood floor. I guess he took a chunk out of the hardwood floor. I saw like a picture. There's like a dent from his tooth, which is just terrible. And yeah, I don't know if it was his 2 front teeth, but it was 2 of his teeth have some braces on them right now to keep them in place. And yeah, not good. I would really hate having to lose my teeth like that. It had to be so painful too. And he just kind of slipped. I think he just stayed like an extra millisecond too long on the rim or something, and then just kind of slipped and fell. Not good, but it was a competitive game, and that's what you want to see.
And as you and I were talking in between breaks, this is what you want to see. They're playing competitively. The young guys are performing very well, and then they're helping their draft stock by still losing.
And they've been exciting to watch, which is something we thought we wouldn't see from a Hoiberg-run team, from a Gar Forman still there kind of team, and they've been exciting to watch, and I mean they really hit on Lauri Markkanen, which was very important, and I thought it was a great pick when they first got him.
Hey,
anyway.
He's the fastest player in NBA history to make 100 3-pointers.
I know, it's pretty unbelievable. I mean, he's a big who's shooting lights out from 3-point range. It's pretty crazy. And Dunn, I mean, I saw him in college. He went to Providence, so I saw him play against DePaul once a year, pretty much every year.
I've been really impressed with Chris Dunn.
And he's just really
You know,
good.
he's an overall good point guard. Like I see him being their point guard of the future. I mean, you have a really good point guard in Chris Dunn.
You're assuming that their big three. I obviously they're not a big three yet, but your big three core would be Markkanen and Dunn and Levine.
And then ideally get somebody really good this year.
Yeah, hopefully. You know, I don't know if they're going to look for Bagley Jr. from Duke. He's pretty good, or Trey Young, a nice shooter from Oklahoma, because Dunn does everything really well except shoot. And
which he's actually done a nice job of that this year. He's
gotten better, but that's his downfall.
Yeah, he's made a lot of improvements from this year and last year.
Yeah, but that's definitely his downfall. That's sort of his weakest spot. But Trey Young, for instance, who's a great shooter from Oklahoma, I mean, he might be somebody that they look at. I don't know. There's a couple Europeans in this draft that are supposed to be pretty good. I don't know. A lot of times it doesn't translate to the NBA very well. I mean, I got to give props to some of these other guys. Like Mirotic has come back, and he's shooting really well.
He's playing like a guy that wants to be traded.
Yeah, he presumably will be traded at some point, and Robin Lopez, too, is another option for a trade. I mean, these young guys are playing well. They've been entertaining to watch this last month and a half.
I feel like Robin Lopez has been the kind of player that's been the right mixture for the youth. A veteran, he does his thing. He'll rebound, block some shots. And speaking of block shots, I assume you saw that insane block Markkanen had on
off of Curry's head.
Yeah, he blocked it off his head.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that can rebound, play some defense, lead the team, be a leader in the locker room. He's been the right guy for this, and he's going to be a guy that'll be tough to see go.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. And, yeah, it's just a lot of these young guys have been playing well. And, I mean, even a guy that no one had ever heard of, Nawaba, I mean, he comes in, and he's kind of solidified his place as being like a good sixth man off the bench to come in and give you some good minutes.
I mean,
and
he's
some
a
good
guy
shooting.
That was on a non-guaranteed contract, and the Bulls now officially guaranteed it for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's played. I mean, he's played very well, and they've been surprising a lot of teams. I don't think a lot of teams have been taking him seriously these last few weeks. And
they
been playing
started
well.
out 3-21.
Yeah,
that was and another guy that's performed well and is shooting the ball lights out from 3-point range is Justin Holiday. Right,
he's been doing really well too, and I mean, they've just been a pleasant surprise because the college basketball in Chicago and in the state of Illinois has been atrocious this year. So it's been really good to see. Northwestern hasn't lived up to its potential. Illinois sucks. DePaul sucks. Illinois State's taken a step back. Southern Illinois sucks. The only bright spot is Loyola right now. Loyola's, I think, 13-5. So I mean, besides the Bulls being entertaining, the only other fix to basketball that we're getting locally is Loyola basketball. So
it's been a pretty big regression because last year,
huge regression.
Northwestern made the tournament. ISU was on the verge.
Yeah, ISU was a number 1 seed in the NIT. I mean, things were looking up for those two teams, especially, but not anymore. And Illinois has been a huge disappointment. They've been hanging in a lot of games, and I think they've lost a lot of games by like 3 points.
Didn't they have their usual get off to a really good start against some not so great teams and then fall off once conference play starts?
Yeah, I mean that's usually what they do, and they never schedule anybody good either. By the way, in non-conference, I don't know how.
Then why don't they schedule DePaul? That'd be a pretty entertaining game.
Yeah, true. I just I mean, the basketball has just been so bad, and it's been bad for Illinois for like 3 or 4 years. It's been bad for DePaul pretty much since 2004. So, not so good. And yeah, so I mean, especially in the winter when there's no baseball and the Bears are done and they suck and all that. It'd be good to have some good basketball around, and hopefully in the next few years we'll get the Chicago Bulls back to where they should be, being a competitive playoff team. So we'll see how it goes. I guess I guess Hoiberg's here to stay for the foreseeable future, which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but they've been playing really well, so you can't really complain about it.
Next thing you know, Gar Forman tells him he's getting fired if they don't start losing games again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say there's maybe an outside chance that they keep playing the way they are. They could try to sneak in as an 8 seed. That probably wouldn't be a good thing for this team right now.
No, but it also wouldn't be drastic. I mean, it wouldn't be terrible because you'd still get a decent first round pick.
No, you'd be picking in between 14 and 16 most likely.
I think the goal is to get top 5 because there's 5 really good players everyone keeps talking about. I can't think of all the names, but they're all there, including Trae Young and Bagley Jr. from Duke. So I mean, we'll see how it goes. There's a good shooter on LSU. There's another good player on Arizona. That's interesting because he has a Lauri Markkanen connection. So maybe they're looking at him. So we'll see how it goes, but not so good. Let's transition to the Hawks, which is getting tough to talk about because they have not been playing well pretty much all season. I mean, there's been streaks where they've been playing well, and then most of the time they've kind of been down. But if Corey Crawford's out for the year, that would not be good.
No, and I think a lot of people, I certainly hope a lot of people realize that the shelf life on the Jeff Glass and Anton Forsberg duo performing the way they are is probably going to be very short-lived. I mean, I don't think you're making the playoffs if those are your two goalies going to the rest of the season. I mean, it's unfortunate that Crawford appears to have either a post-concussion syndrome or vertigo-like symptoms.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the deal is because there was kind of conflicting reports about it. I think it was Scott Bowman was on some sort of radio show in Canada, and he was saying, he thought that it was a concussion that he had, and because if he had vertigo, he'd only be out for a few games and he'd be back. And so I don't know what the deal is.
And then shortly after, he clarified and said he had no idea what was going on. So I'm sure he got an angry phone call from John McDonough.
Probably. Like, what are you talking about on Canadian sports radio? What are you talking about? So I don't know. And, of course, Taves hasn't scored enough this year. He needs to get more goals.
I mean, the offense is playing well. They've got 4 lines that are scoring.
Yeah.
And Anthony Duclair is a nice addition via trade, except really the best thing that they could do, obviously besides hoping Crawford comes back, would be try to add, a top defenseman. They have depth at defense. It's just the problem is most of the guys that they have are the third pairing defensemen that are playing on the first and second lines, and you need to get a number 1 or a number 2 defenseman right now. So you just kind of want to make the team around Anton Forsberg and Jeff Glass better and hope that it can lead to some more wins and the defense plays better because they've been allowing way too many games. There's been too many games that they've allowed 40-plus shots.
Right.
And you're not going to win like that.
Yeah, I heard on the radio today, I think it was Jay Zawoski was talking, he was talking about how the Seabrook contract is sort of killing them and handcuffing them. Because Seabrook, is older now and he's pretty much a non-factor. But I mean, he's getting all this money every year. His contract is huge, and it looks like that was a bad decision to re-sign when they did that money.
It was. I don't know why he got such a big raise. I know the 3 cups and all that, except he was going to be 31 or 32 when his current one expired.
Right.
Then you go and give him a big raise, and except they're not as handcuffed as you would think as long as the Hossa contract can remain on long-term IR, because I think right now, since they were able to trade Richard Panik, they should have about $8.5 million in salary cap space.
Okay, yeah.
Because he was making $2.8 million, that's gone. Hossa's $5+ million is on long-term IR. So they'd have the room to make a big move if they need to, if they're going to acquire a forward or a defenseman, which they could use a top 6 for.